One of my most anticipated shows finally comes out with not one but 2 episodes, which was a surprise. I had no idea that 2 episodes would be dropping of this incredible series. Now, this comes to us from the author who did Interspecies Reviewers, and the artist for the series is the one who works on Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. This is a very interesting series. I was not someone who watched Interspecies Reviewers, wasn't for me, and I could easily see people who may like that show, may not like this one, and vice versa, right? But this was a show that just on a visual level alone, I knew would entertain me. Like, Mappa, put together some form of dream team to make this work. And when I was looking up the staff, which there wasn't too many listed as of right now, but the series composition, it was worked on by someone who worked on Mob Psycho 100, who was the series composition for that as well. No surprise given the action that I'm seeing, and visually, I think one of the best ways to, say what I feel when I watch it is, in a weird way, the art style and the color palette reminds me of Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, and if you've ever seen that with how colorful and stylistic that is, that's exactly what I felt from this, but with the absurd action, animation, and bloody and sexual horribleness that you probably kind of expect just based on the poster image. This is a show that deals with gods, and it does it in a pretty interesting way, where usually when you have humans praying to gods stopping the horrible things, you would expect in most anime manga fashion, the gods would come and save the day. But here, they just don't do anything really. They are a very peaceful species by the looks of it. They prepare for whenever demons awake, but seemingly for 800 years, nothing really happened, except in episode 1 where a demon was unlocked by a robotic doctor, and there's some Looney Tunes level shenanigans going on, just rather than in Looney Tunes fashion, an anvil getting dropped on a guy's head and, you might get a big bump. Here, the head would be completely crushed. It is brutal, and they are not holding back, which I'm very happy about. They deals with a lot of, disturbing things, even though it's disguised as this very colorful series. So if you don't like horrible sexual things or horrible violence, things like that, this definitely won't be a show for you. But it's interesting because one of the characters, he's talking about, what would you do? Why don't we answer prayers? And you get this, montage of people who were physically violated, killed, all these horrible things that are happening in war, and it's because, it makes no sense, right? Humans are attacking humans. It's not like all humans are going to go extinct, right? Even though humans are the reasons, their prayers and thoughts are what make us a reality. Even if a bunch of humans are killed, they're doing it themselves, they'll be just fine. But what would we do if a demon was attacking humans? Well, we would want to do that, but why? It's because a demon would exterminate all human life. It's very interesting because the way it's being explored is you would say, wow, that's a pretty messed up thought process. But then when it gets presented on the human side, would a human stop a forest fire? Yes, because it would destroy all of the forest. But humans have no problem destroying up trees and plants and things like that to make a road because there's still some out there. And that's the exact same way that they treat humans. And it's a pretty messed up, but I think realistic portrayal of if gods really exist, that's probably their thought process. There's always the excuses of if religion is real, why don't prayers get answered? But I think this is probably one of the best examples I could probably say if it turned out to be true. It's just an incredibly entertaining show that no point can you look at it and say, that's a boring shot. When you're getting One Punch Man, Mob Psycho 100, Looney Tunes-esque violence and outlandish situations, you are watching some insane shit take place. And it's pretty dark, too. Even though I would say a majority of both episode 1 and 2, it's very colorful, and even when it's very brutal, literally they're punching hearts out because, they're gods, they'll be just fine, right? But it's still very dark with what it does. There's a scene at the very end of the first episode where a nun is basically praying to God, please don't let these horrible warmongers take advantage of my body. And they do, and they direct it in this really weird opera-like fashion where you see the silhouette of the one guy, and you hear this almost it basically sounds like you're at the opera as this very horrible situation's taking place. It was very disturbing, but goddamn, this show does not hold back, and I think both on the visual and narrative level, it clearly won't. Now, this is going to be an 11-episode anime, and based on the fact that the first 2 episodes came out, but only 1 episode aired on TV in Japan, 1 to 2 things was going to happen because both Amazon Prime in Japan as well as Crunchyroll over here have released the first 2 episodes. So I'm not sure if we're going to have to wait a week for episode 3 or if it's going to be the online broadcast for the show will be ahead of the TV, which would be weird and probably not the case, but I have seen something like that happen before. But I am very excited for this. I think both, if you look at Sunny Boy as well as this, visually, those are the two most unique shows of the season, and they both air on Thursdays. Which one of them, on a visual level, you prefer will be up to you. For me personally, I love them both equally, but on just a color palette level alone, this show has me sucked in, and really, the only time I've ever seen something like that happen was with Hanako-kun, which was a very different show, but the way they blended so many different colors, I think it's so great to have such a brutal story contrasted with all these bright and poppy colors. Like, you would probably assume this is a nice fantasy isekai adventure or something like that, where, you know, you'd have some Dragon Ball level shenanigans, but it wouldn't go too crazy. No, this show is saying Idaten Deities is going to go batshit insane, as you basically have one side trying to seemingly revive demons, where the gods are pretty much tasked with beating the living shit out of them. And that seems to be the story. And I think there's a simplistic charm to something like that, and I think just paying the focus so far on seemingly 4 main characters. You have the mentor, who is training them, which is basically beating the shit out of them. You have Hayato, who seems to be the main character, who is very, very powerful. And then, of course, you have the previously mentioned Elsley, as well as, I think her name was Paula. And it's going to be fun to see, because in episode 1, it definitely sets up one of them, Elsley, to be maybe a bad guy, a traitor, what's going on here. Definitely more to meet the eye, but it's going to be fun to see what they do and where they'll take it, because while this may not be, I think, the craziest a plot twist, I think the situational events and where the characters go and how they interact with these absurd environments and situations, it's never going to be a dull moment. I truly thought with episode 1 it was going to be like the main peak of it, and then maybe episode 2 would slow it down. No, episodes 1 and 2 were back-to-back insanity, and it seems like, based on obviously just a hunch, but 11 episodes, seeing how they're directing the first 2, I would be shocked if this actually visually dips. I mean, obviously, there's always the overworking in the industry and things like that, but it seems like the team behind this knows exactly what they're doing, and they got some pretty banger talent backing it, which I'm really excited about. I really hope this one gets popular. I mean, it doesn't seem like Crunchyroll's promoting it all too much. Hopefully they will, because, I mean, obviously shows like Odd Taxi got really popular, but, I mean, that was mainly because of word of mouth, and if it didn't really help that I don't think Crunchyroll promoted it all that well to begin with. And this one doesn't seem like the source material was all that well received outside of maybe Japan. I mean, I don't see why you would pack a staff like this onto a manga that's not loved, at least in Japan. So I'm hoping that both word of mouth, the publishers, both on Amazon Prime Japan, Crunchyroll for everywhere else, I hope this one gets big, because this one visually alone deserves it. But I like how there's a simplistic charm to the characters and story, and I think there's going to be an insane ride that's probably going to be not comparable to anything else this year. This one deserves the hype, it's bloody, it doesn't hold back, and it feels like we're just getting the uncensored version, no longer getting censored, anything like that. No, this is pure blood carnage, horrifying situations, and I am here for it. Let me know your thoughts on this week's episode, your favorite character that we got introduced to, and what do you hope to see with the remaining 9 episodes of this anime? Let me know down below, drop a like to help promote the video, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.